What is the difference between a shrine and a temple? What is the idea of Shinto-Buddhist syncretism? If you go to a local temple, you will often see a headless stone Buddha or a stone Buddha with a head added onto the approach to the temple. This is a vestige of the movement to separate Shintoism and Buddhism during the Meiji era, 1868 to 1912. Nowadays, shrines and temples are considered to be two separate religious institutions, but they were combined into one before the Meiji era. This is called Shinto-Buddhist syncretism. This is called the Shinto-Buddhist syncretism. Most people today know that it is a shrine to make a wish and a temple to mourn the dead, but there is a movement to think that it is okay to have a Shinto-Buddhist syncretism. In this article, let's consider the difference between shrines and temples. Shinto shrines and temples are buildings related to Shinto and Buddhism, respectively. However, in Japan there is an idea called Shinto-Buddhist syncretism, which combines Shinto and Buddhism, and the distinction between them is often blurred. Originally, there is no Buddhism in the Japanese archipelago. Therefore, there are no temples. Buddhism was born in India and imported from China via the Korean peninsula to Japan in the 6th century, so it did not exist before that time. So what religions did the Japanese people believe in before Buddhism came to Japan? That's Shinto, or Shinto, an ethnic religion centered on nature worship. So, did shrines exist in Japan before temples? In fact, shrines didn't have much of an idea of building, so they didn't have the splendid shrines that we see today. They worshiped nature itself, such as huge stones and trees, mountains, the sea, the sun and the moon, as gods, so they may not have needed a shrine. In the case of temples, there is already a record of a Korean visitor who built a private hall in 552 and worshipped the god of Dadong. However, these were private halls, not temples as we know them today. The first temple in Japan is said to be Shigennoji Temple in Osaka, which was built by Prince Shotoku in 593. Two religions came to exist in Japan, Shintoism, which has been handed down since ancient times, and Buddhism, which was introduced from abroad. At that time, there was a Shinto versus Buddhism debate. If it were a foreign country, religious wars would continue here, and the two religions would fight until one of them was destroyed. The Japanese are different. They united two religions into one. This is the Shinto-Buddhist syncretism. The Japanese interpreted this to mean that the Shinto gods and the Buddhist gods are the same in their bodies, and that they only change their names and appearance according to the place and time they appear. That would be fine if it could be reconciled, but there was also a debate as to which one was higher, and which was closer to the body. I was born. With twists and turns, Buddhism was considered to be the main body of Buddhism in Japan until the Meiji Restoration. As a result, it became very commonplace to build temples inside shrines, called Jinguji, and to build shrines to worship gods inside temples. It is a remnant of this practice that today there are torii gates in temples, and Susanoo, a Shinto deity, is enshrined in a Buddhist style as Ushio Tenno, a god of Shintoism. So, for many Japanese people until the end of the Edo period, there was no distinction between shrines and temples. That was normal in the old days. That's why modern people can't understand the distinction between shrines and temples. A shrine is a place where God is enshrined, a place for God to descend. But a temple is a place where monks live for ascetic practices, a Buddhist monastery. Aren't the people who serve in the priesthood the same because they are practicing? You may think that the place where the temple is built does not have an ancient divinity. It doesn't have to be the land where God descends.